Hello, how's it going? Maybe no need to answer that. I hope you guys are doing well. The date is March 52nd of 2000XX. A bright side of this time for me is that I have been doing some serious reading. Like the kind of reading I used to do when I was homeschooled in 6th grade and had so much time. This time has given me the opportunity to kind of like take books in and just like decide to read them. In normal life, for whatever reason, something has to sit on my TBR for like a year and a half before I even think about cracking it open, and then like I start it and set it aside and have 50 other books going, and my reading life is just a mess. Here, my mom was just like, I really want to read this book a couple weeks ago, so I picked it up and read it cover to cover with her. That's a thing I'd never do. It's lovely. So I thought this might not be the first video of this kind because it's looking like I'm gonna be back here at home for at least another month, which is fine. I'm here with my old bookshelves. Say hi to all of the Rick Riordan. It's nice to be surrounded by all of the childhood books. This is my Queerantine reading update because all of these books have queerness in them. It kind of just happens naturally at this point. Book number 1 is Like a Love Story by Abdi Nazemian. If you missed it, I made like a 13-minute video gushing about this book. I loved it so much. So I'm not going to say too much in this video, but if you need a little push to go watch that video, it's a gay love story that deals with coming out and also friendship. It takes place in New York City in the 80s during the AIDS crisis. So much wisdom, so much love, so much heart and spirit in this book that I just absolutely tore through it. And I probably would have anyway in real life. I have so much love for this book. It might be my favorite that I've read all year so far. Video link will be in the description and up here. The next book I read is a collection of essays that I was planning to read slowly at some point this year. Ended up reading it very quickly this year. It is How to Write an Autobiographical Novel by Alexander Chee. My friend gave me this book at the Strand in New York and was like, this is something that you need in your life. And as soon as I had it, it was one of those where it started popping up everywhere. Even though it's a few years old, suddenly it was on my radar and it was everywhere. So I read it and this has become like an absolute essential favorite of mine. I love reading memoirs. This is different. It's a like collection of essays. There's a fine line, but it just follows this writer's life, the wisdom he's gained as an artist, as a queer person, living in San Francisco, in New York. He does the Iowa Writers Workshop, and there's a really fun essay about that. There's a really crazy essay about working for the Buckleys in New York City as a waiter. So much adventure and growth in this book that it was just such a joy to read, and also the writing is exquisite. I can't say enough about this book. It's one of those where if you have this on your bedside table and you read like one essay a night, your life will change. There's only one essay that I kind of couldn't stand reading about like having a rose garden. I just got really bored with that one. But looking back on it, I can appreciate why it was there. For some reason, I was just like so angry about this essay at the time. I was like, why am I reading all these details when the rest of this has been like so fun and joyous to read? But that's no reason not to read this entire thing. There are a few really great chapters with writing advice that like I've gone back to as I'm editing this second draft of mine. Some painful help in this book for writers. The next book I read, this is the big one, like don't even think I'm ready to talk about it. I read A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. This is an 800+ page paperback. It was recommended to me a bit ago. It was a finalist for the National Book Award. It's a book that so many people have read, and I knew that I needed to eventually. Didn't think I would this soon, but while we're here quarantined, I picked it up and read it pretty quickly. I was warned for sure that this was one of the saddest books of all time. People talk about this book and it's like sadness, trauma, friendship, and yeah, that's what it was. So I was somewhat prepared without being spoiled. Like the events were not actually spoiled for me, which I was grateful for because it would be really easy to spoil this book. But this book is still settling in for me. At the end, you know, where I would normally have the feeling of like instant favorite, classic, one of the best books of all time, what I was kind of expecting because I love queer stories, I love sad stories. I was left with a lot of anger. Different themes from this book have been hitting me slowly as the week since I've read it goes on. I think that's a good thing. You know, I've been thinking about it quite a bit. I've been obsessing and watching interviews with the author. I've read probably every published review of this book, so I'm definitely obsessed, but at the same time, like I gave it 4 stars rather than 5. I was definitely entertained throughout the entire 800 pages. I will say that. Like there was never a moment where I was like, why am I reading this book right now, like, set it aside. I've never read such an epic contemporary novel where there are so many layers. The way it deals with time is very unique. The way it deals with New York is very unique. They tell you this book is about these 4 friends, but it's kind of not. It's about like 2 friends, but especially one person. I've been thinking about whether I would make an entire video about this book because I feel like I should. I want to. I can see it. Like the title is I finally read A Little Life, and I talk about like how angry it made me, but I feel like I don't have that much to contribute to the conversation that's already been had about this book. It's just still settling in such a weird way. When I learned that this cover is actually from a photo series and it's called Orgasmic Man, and when you learn like what the title actually means, A Little Life, it's quite heartbreaking. The title and the cover are conversations that I would really like to have. So I may or may not make a video about A Little Life. I feel like I just did. And finally, there's only 4 books on this list, but like that one was significant, and it's only been like 4 weeks. I'm pleasantly surprised to tell you that I picked up Untamed by Glennon Doyle. This is Glennon Doyle's 3rd memoir. The first one I've read, the only one I will. One of her first 2 was in Oprah's book club. She's a sought after speaker. She's married to Abby Wambach. So I usually don't read books like this, but I was very intrigued by the themes of Untamed, releasing yourself from the cage you put yourself in, breaking down what society has ingrained into you. And it also talks about her coming out and meeting her wife, Abby. And it's actually less about coming out and more of just something that became a fact of her life. So this was actually so great to read. I loved it. If you are looking for a sort of a self-helpy memoir, Glennon Doyle has a really great voice. At times it's a little derivative. It's a little like, I've seen this is very typical self-help. You can feel them trying to fill up pages, but there are very significant chapters where I highlight the crap out of things. My highlights from this book, because I read it on my Kindle, are all on my Goodreads account, if you're interested. And now I'm at the stopping point because I don't want to read anything for like the next week because I'm working on editing my own book, and I've been so distracted by real reading where I feel like I need to finish books soon after I start them. However, next up, I think I might soon read The Selection by Kiera Cass, because I never did, and it just got picked up for Netflix, which is so exciting. So I happen to have this here. Also on my radar right now are The Host. This is a book I never read. It's thick. I don't know if I can take this on right now. I feel like the time has passed to read this book, but maybe I will. I'm also feeling re-inspired by some BookTube friends to read Clockwork Angel. I could never get into the Mortal Instruments, but I know that I can read Infernal Devices without reading Mortal Instruments, so I might do that. We'll see. Because then I could go on and read Chain of Gold if I wanted to read them in like chronological order. We'll see. I brought home so many books, which I thought was too much because I thought I'd be home for like 3 weeks, but nope, here we are. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you've been reading during this quarantine. How have your reading habits changed? Mine have improved so much, and I'm so happy about it. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Have a good one. Stay safe, stay healthy, and goodbye.